An inheritance, a mysterious death, a girl willing to do anything to get everything. When Gene Hackman is found dead, his family's secrets begin to emerge. But what appears to be a simple accident quickly turns into a story of manipulation, lies and fraud. Welcome to this new video. Today, discover the investigation that revealed the incredible truth behind Gene Hackman's death and his daughter's ruthless quest for his legacy. What really happened first? Subscribe to our Like-Care channel and share our content for more inspiring videos. The inquest into the deaths of actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa revealed that he reportedly died of heart disease after his wife died of a rare infectious disease. The world was shocked when Hollywood star Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in their Santa Fe home several weeks after their deaths. As investigators delved deeper into the case, strange signs emerged, suggesting that someone had knowledge of their deaths even before anyone else found out. Hackman's daughter Leslie Ann is now the center of attention. She was involved in something much more serious than anyone imagined. What was she hiding and how far was she willing to go to conceal the truth? The answers might shock you. The death that shocked Hollywood. Actor Gene Hackman and his wife died. They were found dead in their Santa Fe home on Wednesday, after a neighbor alerted police. The house was silent, the door barely ajar, the mail piled up outside untouched. For weeks, someone in the neighborhood knew something was wrong and called law enforcement. The police arrived to check the situation, expecting to discover a normal scene. What they found was strange to say the least. The body of Gene Hackman was found near the kitchen, slumped in a strange position, as if he had collapsed for no reason. His glasses sat beside him, as if they had fallen from his hands. Betsy Arakawa's body was discovered in the bathroom with pills strewn on the counter. The sink water had evaporated, leaving a thin film of residue. There was no blood, no sign of forced entry, no sign of a struggle. Two healthy dogs were walking around the house, while another was found dead in his cage. One problem remained, however: the bodies were not all fresh. The skin had begun to harden around the bones. The decomposition process had slowed. It was time to start the mummification. The police discovered that Gene and Betsy had been dead for several weeks. The air inside the house was heavy, still for a while. Perimeter food on the counter as if time had stopped. Investigators had only one frightening question to ask: how could two people, including a Hollywood star, have disappeared for so long without anyone noticing? The answer came from an unexpected place: Gene Hackman's pacemaker. This device had recorded one last heartbeat, a detail that would change everything. After checking the information, it appears that Gene died on February 17th. If so, the house has been quiet for at least 9 days. There was no call for help, no outside intervention, yet something still didn't fit. Why was Betsy in another room? If John was sick, why didn't he ask for help? If she was still alive after her death, why didn't she come forward? The more the police investigated, the more questions came. Had a small shape in the doorway foreshadowed the presence of someone before the police arrived? The lab returned its findings: no carbon monoxide overdose, no drug overdose, no obvious cause of death. But everything changed when a new revelation emerged. The recordings showed that Gene Hackman's house had been monitored. Someone had been watching them for weeks before he died. Movements had been captured by security cameras. Strange things were happening. Phone records tracked by GPS showed unusual patterns before the police arrived. Anybody know what happened? It was surprising that the digital trail led directly to this person, Gene Hackman's daughter, so the investigation changed direction. The test did not confirm what she said. She claimed to have spoken to her father a few weeks before his death, but phone records showed otherwise. There were problems with his financial activities. Investigators dug deeper and discovered something even stranger. There was more than his death behind all this. It had to do with money. Documents relating to Genoa's succession had been altered before he was found. Even before it was proven that he was dead, someone had tried to take his money. There was solid evidence that things were going wrong in the case. Was Gene Hackman's death really an accident, or had someone planned something sinister long before his discovery? The investigation took an important turn when police reviewed the data from his pacemaker before stopping. The device had recorded one last movement. It was obvious to tell them that everything stopped that day. Everything changed. Investigators looked for signs of life after that date. They looked at his phone records. No calls. No text messages, no internet searches. His financial activities were stopped. No banking connections, no credit card purchases. It looked as if he had simply disappeared. Then they found something else. Security cameras from a nearby property had picked up people moving around Hackman's house. There was a blind near the door and a car parked on the street for hours. Inside the house, motion sensors were detecting strange behavior at unusual times. The front door had never been opened. Someone was watching him, but where was he? Police checked the home's security system. The login logs showed something troubling. Before his death, the bell had been switched off and on several times. No break-in, no call to emergency services, but something was wrong. Every day, Hackman followed the same routine. Every morning he walked his dogs at the same time, checked his mail, cashed his checks. His life was very planned and easy to predict. Then suddenly, nothing. The police dug deeper and found his last digital footprints, his last handwriting, his last internet search, his most recent call to someone else. Each of these acts ended quickly, without warning or warning. Another clue emerged. Cell phone tower data showed a strange signal near Hackman's house. The number was not recorded as it constantly switched from tower to tower, masking its true location. This signal appeared the day before the last beat recorded by the pacemaker. Someone was there. Someone knew what happened. Betty should have called Betsy. Hackman had a medical problem, yet there was no call. Why didn't she leave the house if she was still alive after her death? Why didn't she tell anyone? Police looked at his bank statements for February 16th and there was only one small transaction. It was insignificant in itself, but now we understood better. It was only a digital footprint, a sign of life before everything went dark. On that day, Hackman and his wife both died. The real question was, who was watching them? The detectives were looking for someone who might get into the house, someone who wanted to get something. Then their attention turned to another point. The surveillance readings had sown doubt, and now they were going to tell the truth. What was she hiding? The girl's involvement was not clear at first. People had been interested in the strange timeline, the surveillance videos, and the pacemaker data, but as the police investigated further, they found something that changed everything. Police said she last spoke to her father a few weeks before his death. She said everything seemed normal, with no signs of concern or strange behavior. But when the cops went through the call logs, they found no calls, no messages, nothing else. The last time she had been seen in contact with her father, much longer than she had suggested. The facts did not confirm these statements. Investigators looked at these bank statements expecting to find normal transactions and spending patterns, but they found something odd. She was already talking about her father's fortune before he was officially declared dead. Questions had been raised about the law, questions about inheritance at a time when no one outside the family thought Hackman was lost. Then there were the papers that had been altered. Someone had altered documents relating to Hackman's property. Critical information had been changed. The timing couldn't be ignored by the police. The situation was not only strange. If these changes had been made before February 17th, it would have been planned. The government started asking the hard questions. Did she know something that others didn't? Had she prepared for what was going to happen before it happened? What she had done raised even more doubts. When the contradictions were pointed out to her, she became defensive. It became increasingly unclear what she was saying. She didn't know why there was no record of the calls she said she had made. She could not explain the financial transactions related to her name. Then, another strange fact emerged. Hackman's assets had been discussed with a lawyer the very day the pacemaker had recorded his last movement, but no one had publicly stated that he was dead at the time. He had been gone for so long that no one knew then why someone manipulated one of the objects on his property. Time was running out and the investigation was nearing its conclusion. Did she know anything about the last few days if she was trying to grab his money? Hackman's death was no longer the only element being examined. The investigation was expanding into something much larger. Fraud, deception, manipulation. The test showed not only a terrible accident. Each new discovery brought the investigation closer to the truth. The pieces of the puzzle began to come together, and soon the police would find something that would change the whole case. A secret was about to be revealed. Once he was known, there would be no turning back. Autopsy and toxicology reports. When they came back, the autopsy reports did not answer the questions. Quite the contrary, they raised new ones. Jean Hackman's body did not appear to have suffered any injuries, no bumps, no broken bones, no defensive scars. There was no sign that he was attacked. No act of rape had taken place. The same was true of Betsy Arakawa's body. No marks, no signs of struggle, nothing to suggest suspicious play. The hypothesis of carbon monoxide poisoning was quickly ruled out. The air, gas lines and all other possible causes of leakage had been checked by the authorities. Nothing, no clue, showed that the couple had been exposed to anything that could have killed them silently. Once this hypothesis was ruled out, investigators had to face a new question: what had killed them? If it wasn't an external cause, environmental poisoning, what was left? Toxicology reports followed. No pills had been taken, no barbiturates. There was no sign of overdose, at least on paper. Their system was clean. However, later the police observed something that didn't make sense. Some medicines were missing that should have been in the house. Gene Hackman had had heart problems in the past. He was taking medication to control his illness, but these orders were not found when the house was searched. It wasn't just a matter of lost bottles. If he had run out of medication, there should have been proof that he had gotten more, but there was none. There should have been extra pills in the house if he had stopped taking them, but there weren't. They appeared to have been intentionally removed. Investigators began to consider a worrying possibility. What if Hackman's death had not been caused by something from the outside, but by something far more insidious? It was possible that someone had ensured that he never got the help he needed. An act of aggression or negligence can both result in death. The autopsy reports showed that the same thing could have happened had someone not given him these drugs. These medications had stopped, medical assistance had been lacking, or his condition had worsened without any action being taken. It was neither a struggle nor a shock. It was just a slow, inevitable fall. The authorities then examined Betsy's pills that were left here and there. Why hadn't they taken them? If she had a medical episode, why didn't she seek help? Maybe she wasn't strong enough to act, or was there something or someone who made sure she couldn't do anything? Everything changed when the medication disappeared. It showed a purpose, an intention. It pointed to a planned action rather than a mere accident now. The police were no longer just investigating a tragic death. The cause of death had not been determined, but the couple's German Shepherd was also found dead in a cage in the bathroom. Investigators then turned to the possibility of a carefully crafted plan, a plan that revolved around someone with everything to gain. The battle over the inheritance and legal drama began almost immediately. The battle for Jean Allemand's legacy had begun. His wealth gained over decades of Hollywood success was now blocked by lawsuits. Long before his death, investigators had found suspicious activity regarding his property, but when they consulted his will, they were shocked. There were blank pages. Important information had been changed even before Lachmann was officially declared dead. Someone was manipulating the documents. It was impossible to miss the chronology of events. The documentary trail was filled with Gene Hackman's name. She had been wondering about her father's money for a long time, long before his body was found. Her lawyers admitted that she had tried to alter the inheritance documents, but there was a catch: she had no right to do so. However, the papers and transactions showed that someone had been preparing the transfer of wealth for some time now. Everything was set up by the police. The will had been reviewed, amended and sent to a lawyer for review while comment was still missing. It was clear that the Sehens were involved. Was he playing smart, or did he already know his father was dead? Legal experts disagreed on the changes. Some said the changes were made to get a larger share of the inheritance, while others thought it was a large-scale fraud. If Leslie Ann was preparing for her father's death, what else was she preparing for? The legal fight worsened when the missing pages, financial problems and inheritance claims were revealed at the worst possible time. Prosecutors began to assemble a case. There was a clear trail of money. There was more to this story than inheritance rights. It was about lies, greed, and how far someone would go to get a fortune. When the case came to court, Leslie Hackman was about to hear a decision she did not expect. As the battle for the inheritance intensified, Leslie Hackman's questionable behavior raised troubling questions. The 24-hour surveillance revealed the truth. The investigation now focused mainly on Leslie Hackman. Too many alarm bells had been raised by his involvement in the fight for the inheritance. The police had to know what had happened. So they watched him 24 hours a day. Every movement was observed. Every phone call, emails and financial activities were examined. What they found gave them a bad impression. Those bank statements told a story she hadn't shared with anyone. There were alerts for transactions. Money had been transferred to different banks. Withdrawals had been made but in amounts too small to be traced. It seemed that these changes had taken place at a strange time. Some things had happened even before Jean Arkamont was declared dead. Private emails were read by investigators. Messages sent to lawyers revealed something disturbing. Leslie had talked about his legacy before there was even a reason for the public to be informed about it on paper. Her father was still alive when she spoke to lawyers about her inheritance claims. It was like she was preparing for something she knew was going to happen. Even more information was provided by telephone records. The timeline showed that she had spoken to financial experts, moved assets and tried to speed up legal proceedings. While everyone still believed Gene Hackman was alive, she was doing things that would only make sense if she was sure her father was no longer involved. Unreported bank payments were the most damning evidence. A forensic audit revealed that large amounts of money had been discreetly moved to private accounts. Some of these transfers were sent to offshore banks, which made them more difficult to track. Leslie had been moving money from it for a long time before he was supposed to have access to it. It was no longer just a hypothesis. At this point, the evidence from the monitoring of financial statements and legal investigations all led to the same conclusion. She wasn't just a grieving girl, minding her father's business. It was a carefully thought-out plan to make money. It was impossible to deny the evidence. One person was linked to altered bank statements, surveillance videos and legal papers. Even before her father was officially declared dead, Leslie Anekma had planned a way to make money. The investigation revealed a pattern of lying, cheating and obstruction of justice. Now it was time for justice to be done. They called the police. She was arrested, charged and imprisoned immediately. Prosecutors wasted no time. The case made its way through the court system like a well-crafted puzzle, every piece showing how she had tried to cheat the system. The missing pages from the will, the anticipated land applications, the movements that had not been seen. The timeline was very clear. She had been preparing for Gene Hackman's death for a long time, long before anyone knew he was dead. The decision was made quickly because of the verdict. She lost all rights to the Actement estate. She was convicted of several counts of theft, financial manipulation and obstruction of justice. Every dollar, every good and every formal good with his father was taken. His name was removed from the inheritance for good. She had put everything she had into a plan that fell apart right before her eyes. There was nothing left now. No money. She was no longer entitled to her father's inheritance. Goodbye forever. But even after the conviction, the questions remained. What really happened during Gene Hackman's last days? Did Leslie just take advantage of it? Although the case was over, the secrecy persisted and some people felt that the whole truth had not yet been revealed. The truth about Gene Hackman's last days may never be fully known. What do you think? What really happened? Let us know in the comments. Do not forget to like, to share and subscribe and click on the next video that appears on the screen.